because communication is hard, especially when you don't get the thing done. Nobody wants to say, hey, I know I said I was going to have this done, but I don't have it done. And that's a terrible thing to find out on Friday, but it's a totally fine thing to find out on Tuesday. But it's good to build the habit of like, hey, it's Wednesday. We talked about this thing on Monday. You still feeling good about it being done on Friday? Have you had a chance to start it yet? Have you run into any roadblocks?
I think it's the reason that a lot of the companies that have failed to be successful remotely never became disciplined enough about communication. I'm much more productive and our team is much more productive working remotely. But what I can say is that it's harder and it means being really disciplined about how to communicate and when to communicate. I find that remote asynchronous is much better. Everybody's in their own space. They get to optimize their workspace. They get to put their head down, not be interrupted, not have to worry about people coming in and out of their office. When you have heads down work to do, we find that being remote is really good for execution.
You need to praise them or give them really clear feedback. Nothing can be ambiguous because it makes them feel seen and heard because they are human. They're not a robot. They don't perform the same. They're not a trick monkey. They are human people that are really valuable to my team. So it's important that we adjust a bit to what their needs are because we ultimately always get better work that way.
A lot of times you go and talk to them and something's coming up in life. There's a shift. My spouse is sick, and so I'm having to take care of the kids, and I'm shifting my work days to later in the afternoons. Being flexible with that and not saying, I need you at your computer from 9 to 5 every day kind of alleviates the anxiety that you can get as a manager. That flexibility takes some getting used to, but once you get into that cadence, you realize not everything is a 5-alarm fire that has to be dealt with this second.
Everyone has their own take on what time management means. Some folks are really productive at night, and my brain is mush by 3 o'clock. So I think it's really important to communicate with your team fairly early on. When do you feel like you're operating as your best self? As much as I love a good morning meeting, if they're going to be struggling to be fully engaged, I need to accommodate that because ultimately I want us to all be operating as our best self.